It's been called one of the worst PS1 games in existence. Scratch that. It's been called one of the worst games in existence. Spawn, a property loved by comic book fans from all over, including myself for the first 100 or so issues, I believe. Getting his time to shine on the PS1? What could possibly go wrong? It can't possibly be that bad. Can it? Released for the PlayStation 1 on December 1st of 1997, surely ruining the holidays of many kids over, Spawn the Eternal was developed by Sony Computer Entertainment directly. The game was originally meant to release around the same time as the Spawn motion picture, but got delayed so the developers could turn it into more of a Tomb Raider style game, referring to the PS1 Tomb Raider games, of course. The game's plot is taken directly from the comic, though you wouldn't really know that if you had never picked up an issue prior to playing this, since the game gives no more than a few little nods here and there. Al Simmons, an assassin on death's door, makes a deal with Malebolgia to become his minion and lead an army of darkness. Thus, he becomes Spawn and is granted amazing powers despite his disfigurement. But Spawn eventually turns the tide and decides to fight back against the forces of evil. Which brings us to the game here. Spawn is straight up chonky in this game, with the camera focusing far too closely on his back. It doesn't help that the hallways you walk in are either extremely small and claustrophobic, or far too open with nothing going on in them. Your movement is completely strange and janky. The game utilizes the tank control style for exploration, similar to the original Tomb Raider games, though the movement is far less responsive and the camera is far too slow, which is strange considering that Spawn himself was already slow to begin with. You also break boxes. A lot. You will probably start nicknaming this game Spawn the Eternal Box Kicker as a result. Here's where things get different. Instead of keeping the same control scheme when you encounter an enemy, the game switches to a 3D fighter style of combat with a completely different control scheme. The combat consists of light kicks, light punches, and heavy punches with various ways to pull off combo attacks. This would be fine if the button responses weren't so poorly timed. Pulling off strings of combos is an exercise in frustration, to the point where most players will prefer to stick with punches and kicks and the occasional healing. You have 4 main worlds to travel through. A standard one through city streets, medieval Spawn's world, primitive savage Spawn's world, and finally, Hell itself. The environments look, well, terrible. Everything is really bland and grainy? Is that the word? Yeah, I think it is. All stages are structured pretty much the same. You move through hallway after hallway, fight random grunt after random grunt, find button or key, open door, fight another grunt, eventually fight boss, end of stage. There were a few occasional platforming sections, but each one seemed to be worse than the last. Check out this section, for example. The floor on this bridge crumbles as you touch it, which is fine, but then you have to go back the way you came. In order to cross the bridge again, you need to position yourself perfectly against the small section of the floor sticking out, which you can barely see thanks to the camera, and then make a straight leap to the other one. In other games, this might not have been so bad, but in this one it was a straight-up nightmare. I'm embarrassed to say I lost count of how many tries this jump actually took me. But wait, there's more. In this section, you have to jump across platforms to hit multiple switches while being shot at by an unreachable enemy. It could have been reasonable, but the camera refuses to make it so, as you're stuck making a leap of faith based on the limited range of visibility you have. Once again, this took me far too many tries due to the poor design. And then there's this part here. I'm honestly not sure if it's even possible to get past this without using an invincibility cheat. You can't roll through it in time, tricking it into closing before it touches you and then running through doesn't work as it just closes as soon as you're in it again, and there's absolutely no way around it either. Heck, even if you look up other playthroughs of this game online, you'll see all of them using the same invincibility cheat to get through this part. Just wow. You would hope that the game gets a little better as it goes along, but it somehow manages to get worse instead. The final world in the game, Hell, has you walk up a long series of staircases before having to stop and enter another room with another set of puzzles and enemies. The game sort of tricks you into thinking you're near the end of it, when in reality you've still got hours upon hours of this tedium to go, and that's just if you know what you're doing. Alright. I'm going to take a deep breath and try to list some positive things. Okay, here we go. The sounds and music aren't all bad, and a few sounds are actually pretty cool and atmospheric. They don't quite match up with the game, but I can at least see what the team was going for here. Although the combinations are annoying to pull off, a few of them look pretty nice in action. My favorites consisted of Spawn firing some of his magic in a blast of energy, as well as ripping off an enemy's arm and actually using said arm to defeat them. I also liked the idea of coming up against bosses like Violator at the end of each stage, though enemy variety could have been a lot better here. And, the opening FMV is kind of neat? I think what annoys me the most about this whole thing is that the game could have been decent. The ideas presented here are actually not bad at all, at least to me. Exploration through stages with keys is fine in and of itself, and stopping to change to a fighting game engine when enemies appear is also fine, as I'm a big fan of turn-based RPGs, and this isn't too far off from that mark. But what I can't forgive is the horrible execution. Horrible cameras, slow movements, unresponsive combat, poor textures, and... Wait. They couldn't even take the health gauges out of this shot? Dear Lord. Beating this game left me with no feelings of satisfaction. Only grief. Grief over the disappointing finale. Grief over the time wasted on this. Grief over the thought of how this could have been a game worth talking about with more polish. I have a confession to make to you all. I'm a type 1 diabetic. It's the kind of diabetes you inherit instead of getting through a bad diet like many with type 2. As a result, I have to watch my blood sugar constantly and test every time I'm about to have a meal or if my number's dropping. Stress can make it go up quite easily. The night that I finally finished up this frustrating mess of a game, I had a blood sugar number of exactly 327. For those who don't know, that is a dangerously high number and not a range you should ever be in. This game literally caused me to have a health issue. It was that frustrating. Yes, if this game is supposed to represent the true terrors of hell, then consider them represented. So to sum it all up, no, hell no, oh my god, never again in a million years, are you serious? I actually found E.T. for the Atari to be a more enjoyable experience than this. If that doesn't say everything, I don't know what does. Well, at least the comics are still good, right? Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. I'm probably gonna go seek some counseling. Okay. Deep breaths. Think low blood sugars. It's not working! Save me, Dr. Wayne Dyer!